Welcome back to my channel, everyone. Today we are going to have a review on a Acme Flair 4-axis micro lathe. Is it a toy or is it a tool? I don't really know yet. I've always thought it would be neat to have a metal lathe, but I simply do not have room for one in this little garage. I do have a benchtop wood lathe that I built a stand for and managed to find room for in the garage here. But anyway, I thought it would be fun to play with this thing. So I haven't really used it yet. If it proves to be somewhat useful, I have some modifications in mind for it, but that will be a future video if we get that far. So let's look at this thing, see if it works, and see if it might be useful for something. So here we go. I received this box in the mail today. I'm going to unpack it inside because it's pretty cold out in the garage, and the workbench is cluttered up with some other stuff anyway. So let's see what we have here. Is it a toy or is it a tool? I don't know. We'll find out. The Allen key, piece of wood, probably for practice. Assorted stuff. I believe this is the base. Hard plastic. Instructions. I know this was loose in there. Not sure what that's about. Power supply, 12 volts at 5 amps, and here's the machine itself. Yeah, that appears to be what was in the picture, in the description. So, let's have a look. Looks like it came with a tool. I'm wondering if it says you need a tool rest, and maybe you do, I don't know. Anyway, at first glance, everything seems to work. It said variable speed, but I don't see a speed control. That bothers me. Let's see if it turns. Yep, it turns. It's about a week later. The temperature's moderated a little bit, and I'm out here in the garage. First thing, let me say this. The instructions for this thing are basically non-existent. You're kind of on your own. For one thing, the instructions are not for this unit. I think it's probably for the unit less the this is called the Z1 axis. This turns this way, so it's basically the same, but it's not the same. There's a parts list, which is somewhat helpful in putting the thing together. There are no instructions whatsoever about how to put the base on the unit. I had to figure that out myself. So, you know, there's just the instructions are sorely lacking. But I was able to figure it out, how to put things together. It comes with this little, let me dump this stuff out here. It comes with this center finder, which is handy, of course. A couple of Allen wrenches to use in, if you want to take the knobs off and on. It comes with a little one cutting tool, and a very small cutting tool. It's not even a quarter of an inch. It's probably, I don't know, maybe somewhat less than a quarter inch. Hang on, I'll measure it. Cutting tool is about 3/16. It is not variable speed. I'm not sure where I got that idea. I think it's a DC motor, runs on 12 volts. So you might be able to use one of those little pulse width modulation units to make it variable speed, although if you slow it down, it may be at the expense of torque. I don't really know. I haven't really used it yet. I mean, it seems to be pretty well made. I haven't quite figured out how the Z1 axis, which tilts this way, what the advantage to that would be, but I'm sure it's a matter of me learning about it. So, I purchased, well, I purchased a tool post with the idea of putting the tool post on instead of this thing, but it did not fit, so I had to send it back. So anyway, I think I'll just learn to use it a little bit more before I start buying accessories, although I did order I believe this is an MT0 taper on this thing here, and this unscrews. The live center just unscrews here, and I used a caliper to measure this, and I believe it's an MT0 taper from what I can figure. So I ordered an MT0 adapter for a chuck, drill chuck, and a chuck, and whether that's going to work remains to be seen. It may be just take up so much room, there's no room for work, but Anyway, we'll see. Let's see, you get this tool for loosening these things so the tracks can move back and forth. In order to do that, though, you have to loosen these screws here. So moving these in and out is not real easy, but it can be done. And I mean, you know, for the price, what do you expect? So let's see, what else? I have seen Scout Crafter on his metal lathe turning some stuff called Delrin. So I ordered a couple of pieces of that stuff. And I ordered a brass rod, which is in here. So I thought I might try some turning on that. It's a piece of aluminum they included, which I assume is a sample because it was with a piece of wood. So I guess this is just like test pieces for you to play with. I did a little bit of turning on the aluminum here just to see if it'd work, and it does. You have to take it slow, though. So, let's see. What else? Everything seems to work like it's supposed to. It's pretty solidly built from what I can tell. Like I say, it runs on 12 volts. So, let me see if I can think of anything else. It comes with these two little steel rods for loosening and tightening the chuck. It's a three jaw chuck. Let's put this piece of aluminum in here. So we'll tighten that up a little bit. Push the live center in here. Alright, apparently I tried to ask a little bit too much of this thing. And there must be some kind of a reset in here. So, because I unplugged the power supply for a few minutes, or not minutes, maybe 15 seconds or so. Plugged it back in and we're running again. So, the lesson in that is, you gotta go really slow. Plus, that just really needs to be steadier. Let's see, maybe, I bet. Let's move this one back, whoops, forward. And move this one back a little bit. Maybe that'll give us a little more stability, but that's not real stable. Plus, I think it's positioned incorrectly. It needs to go up a little bit. So, I'm gonna have to see if I can figure out what to do about that. That doesn't make me real happy. Anyway, let's see if we can cut a little bit more and maybe go a little slower this time. Maybe the cutting tool's too dull. I think that's one problem. it's on the wrong side. Let me see if I can fix that. Okay, it cuts, but it doesn't do a very good job, and I think maybe it may be the operator's fault. I think there's too much play for one thing. This thing, the cutting tool wasn't tightened down tight enough, and there's just too much wiggle in this thing. So, I don't know. Let me ponder that. Let me see if I can somehow make it a little steadier. There seems to be some play in this Z-axis. Yeah, oh yeah. So I'm going to have to see if I can do something about that. Anyway. The jury's still out on whether I like this thing or not. Let me work with it a little bit. Been working with this thing. I think I'm not satisfied with the way it's cutting, but I think it can be made to do a lot better. Last night I found that this thing was really loose. This Z-axis thing here, and there's some adjustments here. There's 4 of them, and they're almost like valve adjustments on a car. There's like an Allen bolt in the middle with a locking nut. That's a 7mm locking nut on each of them, and if you play with those and get them just right, it'll tighten that thing up in there. So I did that, and it helped quite a bit. Here, let me show you. It works better, but not good enough. And I think I know why. It's because there are essentially two Z-axis adjustments. And so when you tighten up on one of them, the other one tends to loosen. Consequently, you wind up with a rough surface there. I mean, I know the thing can't be perfect, you know, for what it is. So here's my plan. I looked at the parts list carefully last night. These blocks here are basically spacers to get the thing up. So what I'm going to do, and I took it all apart last night, so I understand how it works now, or at least how it's put together. I am going to take these blocks out, the spacer blocks. I'm going to take one of these Z-axis tables, or whatever you call them, adjustments. I'm going to take one off, and there will be, now after I do that, there will be one, I guess that's the X-axis, and one Z-axis instead of 2. because when you tighten this thing up while it's running, one of them, you tighten this one up and this one tends to untighten. So I'm going to do that, and I think that should help. What I did last night was, making these things steadier. That did help. But now I think this is the problem. So I'm going to do that now, and we'll see what happens. I'll bring you back when I get it all set up again. I have reconfigured this thing. I took the spacer blocks out, and now I'm down to one Z-axis adjustment, and I think it works better. I mean, it's still not great, but hey, what do you want for the price? I mean, I think it would be okay for making small parts like little knobs and things. So I don't know. I'm going to work with it a little more. Let's see how it does here on a piece of aluminum. I may try to work with it a little bit more. I'm not sure yet, but it works sort of. I think maybe if I learn to use it and learn the little quirks and limitations, it might do a better job. Also, I might try some different tooling. This is a 4mm tool, and it came with it, so I might see if I can find something else to use. Just kind of hard to find these at this size, and it's hard to find attachments for these things. I'd like to have a drill chuck to go here, but I'm still working on that. That's better. It's better. I think it might be acceptable to make some small parts out of soft material. Let me show you what I did. I put this configuration back the way it was. I think one of the big problems was, well, everything has to be really tight and straight. And the main problem I noticed earlier was that this is called the Z-axis and the Z1 axis. Well, they were both, I guess the term you'd call them was loose. In other words, you could use the adjustment on either one of them. Well, that didn't work very well, because when I would tighten one of them up to start cutting, the other one would loosen. So that doesn't make sense. So I used these adjustments on this side of the Z1 axis and tighten them all up. So this thing won't really turn easily. There's some backlash in there, but it won't turn. I mean, unless you really, go medieval on it. But this one does. So that holds it pretty steady, relatively steady, let's say. So I was able to make some cuts, and then I must admit I dressed them a little bit with some sandpaper. So I think it will be acceptable to me to use for making small pins and perhaps little knobs or something like that. Now, I've only been experimenting with this. I guess it's aluminum that they sent with it. Let's just see. Yeah, it's non-magnetic. So I'm going to clean this up, and I'm going to try a piece of this stuff. Delrin, I think it's called. I'm going to try that next to see how that works. But at this point, I think it's probably a keeper, as long as you recognize its limitations. And also, I've got to find some different cutting tools, and I need to learn. I need to learn more about metal lathes. I mean, I admit it, I'm a complete novice. Don't really know much about them, and I've got to learn. I need to learn the right way to set them up, and I'm pretty sure I need some better cutting tools. I have some cutting tools, but they're too big. I thought I might see if I could grind them down to maybe fit this. So anyway, that's where I am now. Learned a few things about this little micro lathe. First, accessories are very hard to find for it. I'm still looking, but it's hard to find accessories for it. And secondly, the little chuck won't hold very much. They send you a sample of aluminum and a piece of wood. I had some Delrin that I wanted to try, but it's bigger than the chuck will handle. So I cheated. And turned down a couple of pieces on the wood lathe. Drilled a hole in it for the little project I have in mind. And because I have not been able to find a drill chuck for this thing, if anybody knows where to find one, please let me know. So I'm still conducting that search. But anyway, if you recognize its limitations, it does work. So I'm going to turn on, I have another piece in the chuck here. So let me demonstrate. As long as you're using soft material and have a sharp bit or a tool, it seems to do what it's supposed to. I sure would not attempt to use this on steel. Aluminum would probably be okay. Brass, probably okay. But you want to get the diameter as close to the finished product that you're looking for as possible. So I'm still playing with it. I think I'm going to keep it. So I think it might be useful in making small pins, maybe a little brass knob or something like that. But it's definitely not meant for any kind of work with steel. But I just kind of wanted to learn what these things are all about. And I've been watching videos about the different bits and how to, put the right bit in and so forth. And I'm sure all you machinists out there are getting a chuckle out of my amateurish attempts here. But like I said, I'm just trying to learn a little bit. So I thought maybe this would be a good little toy to learn on. Toy or tool, I haven't decided yet. Okay, let me explain what I'm trying to do here. These little pins here are used to tighten and loosen the chuck. And it's kind of inconvenient. This is let me say, this is a practice project I'm doing. I'm trying to make some little handles for these things because it's kind of inconvenient to handle them like this. So I thought I'd attempt to make some little handles for them like this, just as a little practice project. So that's what I'm working on. I mean, actually the thing is working better now. Of course, it all depends on the material you're working with. This stuff's pretty soft, so, and I think I've finally figured out how to set up. I'm learning to operate it better. And as an update, I have found a source. I contacted the manufacturer. I found a source for the drill chuck, and I found a source on Amazon for some cutting tools. So I've ordered those. So that's where I am now. So there you go. Actually, I'm becoming a little bit more pleased with the thing the more I play with it. Before I wrap this up, there's one more experiment I want to do with this thing. I want to see if I can vary the speed of this motor by varying the input voltage. So I've got the bench supply hooked up here. Put it on 12.5 volts. Let's turn it on. Pulling about 1.5 amps. That's interesting. All right, let's drop the voltage a little. Oh yeah. Whoops. Now I don't know if that's hard on the motor or not. I don't feel it getting hot or anything. I don't know if I'd want to operate it any lower than that. Give it a sniff test here. A little over an amp at 7.5 volts. All right, I think that settles that question. Yes, I think you can vary the speed by varying the voltage. Here are a few of my final thoughts on this little micro lathe. Here's my first project that I did on them. I put some little knobs on these things, these little steel rods. They're much easier to use this way. I was having trouble, picking them up and so forth. And hey, I made a couple of little knobs there. I think it does what it's supposed to do. You're not going to be able to use this on steel, I don't think. It doesn't have the power to do that. It works fine on this Delrin stuff, which would be ideal for making little knobs and things like that. I haven't tried it on brass yet. It works okay on aluminum. I think you could maybe turn some little pins or what have you. One thing is that if you're going to make something, you probably need to get the material needs to be as close as you can get to the finished product, so you won't have to take too much off. I was able to source a drill chuck and some bits, which I have not received yet, but there's that. I mentioned the lack of instructions, but you can figure it out. Everything has to be as tight as you can get it. My next project on this is going to be, in order to move this tailstock, it's kind of a pain. I'm going to make some knobs like this, only threaded, so I can unscrew these two bolts easily right here. And then there's another one inside here that you have to use the Allen key to, or right in there, to move this headstock. So I think that'll be a good little project for this. I think it would be good for making whole little knobs, and like if you needed a brass pin for some tool, you could use that. Mainly, it's a learning tool for me anyway. I have some upgrades in mind for it, which I'll maybe get to eventually. I need to build a better base for it, or at least put another base into this thing so I can clamp it securely. But those are my comments at the moment. If I were grading on like a 5-star grade, I'd probably give it about a 3.5 or 4. As long as as far as being a toy or a tool, I'm going to call it a tool. As long as you understand its limitations, which I've gone over at length, I think. So there you have it, friends. I'm glad I bought it. I think I'm going to have some fun with it. So I think it might be fun eventually, and maybe I will eventually, is to try to put a couple of stepper motors on these two axes right here and see if I could control it with a computer. I was a computer programmer in another life, so I don't know. I think it would be fun to do something like that. So those are my thoughts on it, and for what it's worth, I'm glad I bought it. Well, there is a look at the Acme Flair 4-axis micro lathe. Is it a toy or is it a tool? I don't know. I think it's a tool, actually, but you be the judge. I think it's a tool as long as it's used for what it's meant to be used for and not pushed beyond its limits. So there you go, my friends. I hope you enjoyed the video. I think maybe we'll be seeing this little thing in some future videos. Like I said, I have some modifications in mind for it, which I think might be interesting. Could we do some computer control on it? I don't know. Maybe we'll find out at some point. So Stay tuned. Hope you enjoyed the video, everyone. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.